Hey makeup friends! So I saw an article today about BH Cosmetics and how they have filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and I wanted to share my thoughts on that with you. So let's get into it. As always, I want to start the video off by welcoming you back to my channel, or if you're new here, then hello and welcome. My name is Kara, and on my channel, we like to mix beauty, brains, and the occasional F-bomb. Now, first up, I need to address this entire situation. I have not updated my makeup. I applied it like 9 hours ago. I'm just coming back from work. So I'm trying to distract you with the earrings, basically, is what it comes down to. So the earrings are from Aldo. Lipstick is Sava from Natasha Denona, and the eyeshadow I can't quite talk about yet because the brand has not yet released the information on it. So suffice it to say there will be a video coming, but it's a secret for right now. Anyways, let's dive into this video. So first up, I just want to say, a lot of you already know this, but I am a lawyer by trade. However, I do not deal with bankruptcy issues. Also, I'm Canadian and our system is different than that of the US. I do dabble a little bit in the bankruptcy side of things only when it affects my clients post-separation. So in terms of corporate restructuring and all that kind of stuff, that is definitely outside of my wheelhouse, and I just want to be very clear on that right out of the gate. So I have done some research pertaining to what exactly Chapter 11 bankruptcy is. So I wanted to give you a very quick crash course, keeping in mind this is well outside my area of expertise. If I've got anything wrong, that's clearly just my interpretation of what I have read online. So with that caveat out of the way, let's get into it. So basically, Chapter 11 bankruptcy allows companies to continue operations while reorganizing or restructuring their debts and assets. It is overseen by the court, and so there can be a trustee appointed who does all of these decisions for the company. That's typically in the case of fraud or like gross mismanagement. I haven't seen anything regarding BH requiring a trustee at this point, but I also haven't really looked too far into their court documents. I'm just basically talking on the surface level. So Chapter 11 proceedings do allow the company to continue their operations. However, if they want to make certain decisions like selling off assets or stopping their operations altogether, that needs to be approved by the court. And from what I can read, Chapter 11 is typically sort of the lane of last resort simply because of the costs involved for those court proceedings. So they would have had to have explored all of their other options before deciding on Chapter 11. Now, obviously, while no company strives to go into bankruptcy, Chapter 11 doesn't necessarily mean that the company is destined to be closed indefinitely. There have been a number of brands in the past that have declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy and have gone on to flourish. For example, Kmart and General Motors. It allows them to continue their operations, restructure their debts, and basically get back on top of whatever has created this issue in the first place. Now, in the case of BH, I don't know the exact total amount of their debts. I'm sure if I looked for their court documents, I could probably determine that information, but I'm just not that dedicated. Regardless, based on the article that I've read, they do have a number of smaller creditors that are owed over $1 million each. They also have a term loan worth about $9.6 million that they need to pay off, and a revolving loan of about $13 million or so. So just to further parse that down for you in case you're not aware, a term loan is one where there are specified repayment intervals and a defined endpoint. So basically you get a lump sum of money up front, and then you pay that back, presumably with interest over the course of a set number of months or years. With a revolving loan, that's more like a line of credit where as you're paying it back up, you can draw back down from it. And so it's really more about the principal and the interest, but there's no defined endpoint to that loan. So they do owe a significant amount of money. And now if we look at the other side of that coin in terms of how much BH is bringing in, we can see that there has been a dramatic decrease over the last couple of years. In 2019, their net sales were about $55 million. Compare that to 2020 when it reduced to about $33 million, a significant drop. And there are obviously a number of factors going into that, one of them being the pandemic. People are at home, they're not wearing as much makeup, they're wearing masks, things of that sort. But I think that there are some other factors involved in this as well. And that's what I want to turn my focus to now. Now that we've done this like crash course on bankruptcy and what this might potentially mean for the company, I am very heartened to see that they do have an opportunity to turn the ship around. But I think that they're going to need to make some rather dramatic changes in order to come out on top. So I have 6 recommendations that I would make to BH Cosmetics just as a consumer. Keep in mind, I don't really know the ins and outs of Chapter 11, what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, feasibly, financially, any of that kind of thing. But just as an everyday consumer, these are the things that I see that I think could be tweaked. So first of all, I think they need to clean up their website. I mean, they have some stuff on there that only has 2, maybe 3 different shade options. Just get rid of them. They're not selling. They've been on this website forever. Clear them out, restructure your website to make it as user-friendly as possible, and just get rid of the detritus. It's really just a distraction at this point. And when you only have a handful of lip products and a very small selection of color shades, all that really tends to do is just shine a spotlight on the lack of diversity that you have in that category. So I would just rather not see any base products or any lip products on their website and just focus on what it is that they are doing well. They're doing very well at eyeshadow palettes. And that brings me into my second recommendation, which is expand into other color cosmetic areas. For example, blush, highlighter, and bronzer. We know that they do really well with powder products. Expand your line. And I'm not talking 6-pan cheek palettes because I don't think they do that well, personally. When I look at their 6-pan options, it's very much that they're trying to cater to everybody with one palette. And ultimately what that ends up doing is not working for anybody. There's a range in those palettes from light all the way up to deep, which means, at least for me, there's about 3 shades in that palette that are just way too deep for me. And if you have a deeper skin tone, there's going to be 3 shades that are way too light for you. I would rather see them do single pans so that people can just pick the options that work best for them. I don't like 6-pan palettes unless you have a 6-pan palette specifically designed for lighter skinned, for medium skin tones, and for deeper skin tones. And even that, it's a bit of a risk because not everybody loves a rosy tone. Not everybody loves a peachy tone. So having singles, I think, would be a great option for them. We know that they do powders well. Expand into all areas of powders and really hone in on that. Now, I am just as guilty as the next one of loving new releases. I get excited when you see them. I get excited to try new color stories, to try new formulas, all of that good stuff. But I really think BH needs to lay off the monthly releases. I mean, I had fun with it in 2021 with their Birthstone palette, but I don't think it's necessary, and I don't know how much revenue they can really be generating with those. Because if you think about the everyday typical consumer, not somebody who's trying to film reviews to share these with everybody else, but every normal person, I don't know that everybody is fully committed to purchasing 12 different gemstone palettes just for the sake of having them. And I believe that they sold for $9 last year, and I don't know how much profitability there is or what their profit margins are on a $9 palette. So I'd really rather see them slow their roll and really get creative in their launches. I'd love to see full collections coming out from them. But I'd really like to see them take a break from the whole astrology kind of deal. Like, I get that they're looking for something that runs the course of a year. I understand that. But I think that you could do that in literally any other area. It doesn't have to be tied specifically to that month. But it's not that hard to come up with 12 different ideas once you get that umbrella category. It does not need to be astrology, because I can tell you there are people out there who don't give 2 figs about astrology. Likewise, I'd love to see them move away from the geography named palettes, because as many of you have rightly pointed out in comments on my review videos, oftentimes the color story isn't reflective of the region that the palette's named after. So ultimately, what's the point? I'm also still very salty about the whole Amore and Amalfi thing, where it was really just chillin' in Chicago but renamed. Still don't like that very much. Love the color story, don't think that they did their customers any services by doing that and not drawing attention to the fact that it was just renamed. Did not appreciate that at all. But all that to say, I would love to see them, I know I just talked about them expanding, but in terms of their eyeshadows, I'd love to see them just narrow their focus, have fewer releases, but have them more fleshed out and more thought out. And for the love of God, not every eyeshadow palette needs a corresponding brush set, because the brush sets they're not that distinguishable one from the next. And once you have one, do you really need any more? I don't really think that you do. So I'd love to see them just expand into different cheek product areas, but ultimately narrow. Like, I'd love to see a palette come out with some cheek products that complement the tones in the palette, something along those lines. That's going to bring me to my third recommendation, which is just forget about celebrity collabs. Like, I don't really think that that's the driving force in the market anymore. It was a few years ago. It was big, it was new, it was something fresh. And now celebrities are really just like popping up all over the place with their own lines. And I don't think anybody really cares that much about a celebrity collab. And certainly, if you're going to do a celebrity collab, make it a banger. The last two that BH has done have not been good, frankly. The Iggy Azalea thing, I don't know anybody who bought that. I don't think I saw any reviews on it at all. And then the Doja Cat, that was a very easily decluttered palette from my collection because it just was not up to the standard. BH, the only product that they are really well known for are their eyeshadow palettes. So to come out with a collab palette that didn't meet the standard that they've set for themselves very consistently with all of their other launches was very disappointing to me. And in reading the article that I will link down below about their filing for bankruptcy, it stated in there that BH was going to be releasing a skincare line, and they ultimately shelved that in favor of the Iggy Azalea and Doja Cat collabs. Now, I'm not one for buying skincare lines from makeup brands. It just always seems a little strange to me, and I'm frankly not that fussed about skincare, to be honest, in the first place. But I think I would have preferred to have seen a skincare line than this 2002 throwback that they did with Iggy Azalea. Now, my next recommendation to BH is a little bit against consumers' better interests. However, just hear me out on this. They have to reduce the number of sales that they offer. They just truly do. When there are constantly sales going on, I'm not going to buy it at full price. I do this all the time with Old Navy. I will find what I like from them, I will save it for later, and then when their site invariably goes on sale for 50% off of everything, that's when I will pick it up. Likewise, BH, they constantly have sales on, and a lot of times those sales are extremely good, like 60% off of the base price. So what that does for me, A, makes me not want to ever buy anything at full price, but also makes me question the true value of the item. Is it just artificially inflated because they're working in this sale price to try to trick their consumers? Or is it valued at that full price, but they're just constantly offering sales, which doesn't make a lot of sense from a corporate perspective. So ultimately, I would love to see more selective sales, tie it in, do your Black Friday sale, do your post-Christmas sale, or whatever the case may be, but have them scattered throughout the year so that when you do have a sale, it's meaningful. And when things launch and they're at full price, consumers know if they want to wait for a sale, they're going to have to wait for a sale. It's not just going to be 2 days from now. So that brings me to my final point, and that is they need to tap into the YouTube market. And what I mean specifically by that is that they need to create a PR program. I don't know personally anybody who receives PR from BH. In fact, the only big influencer that I can think of that has ever received PR from BH, I believe, was Raw Beauty Christie. And that was a long time ago. I could be wrong on that, but I seem to recall she did a review of their round Zodiac palette and some lip products, and I think they then sent her PR after that, but I don't know if they've continued to do so. I could be wrong on that. If you have a better sense, let me know in the comments below, but I don't see reviews of the products before they launch to build that hype and anticipation, or at least just share the upcoming products with their audience. Even with their monthly releases that they did in 2021, You didn't know what the palette was going to look like until the day it was released. It just doesn't make an awful lot of sense. I think, frankly, that BH has just got very comfortable with its Instagram presence, and I just don't think that that's enough anymore. YouTube, in my opinion, has overtaken Instagram. Instagram's great for a quick picture, and of course now there's Reels and all that kind of thing, but I, as a consumer personally, and I can only speak for myself, but when I'm looking for a review on a product, I'm looking at YouTube. I'm not looking at Instagram. Instagram for me is more of inspiration, whereas YouTube is where I come to get the nitty gritty, how it performs, is it worth my money, all of that kind of thing. So I think that they are missing a huge area of the market by ignoring YouTubers. I just think that they're missing out on a huge opportunity by not sending out PR. The return on investment is there. There is such interest in their palettes. They're such a well-known brand that not sending out PR just really doesn't make any sense to me. So there we have it, guys. Those are my thoughts, and I would love to hear yours in the comments below. I did do a community post, and I've been enjoying reading your reactions over there, but in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Where do you think things went wrong for BH? Where do you think they could improve? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let's just have a nice little chat down below. And of course, I wish BH Cosmetics nothing but the best. I don't know who said it, but somebody once did, that failure is our greatest teacher, and I do fully believe that. I think BH Cosmetics has a great opportunity right now to really shake things up, get out of their comfort zone, and really push themselves to evolve. And I can't wait to see where that leads them. But with all of that said, I'm going to wrap the video up here. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, I invite you to consider doing so. But for now, I will see you in my next video. And until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.